Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining. The presentation will start in a few minutes. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, once again. I'm Gabriel Michaud, and I will be your presenter today. I'm the founder of Velixo, and I started this business back in 2017 after close to 20 years in the ERP software industry. Today, Velixo has more than 1,600 clients worldwide and a network of over 150 partners that are trained and certified on Velixo. Our team is distributed across the world. We're headquartered in Montreal, Canada, but we have employees serving our clients in the United States, in France, in Australia, in Portugal, and many other countries in the world. After spending so much time in the ERP software world, first as a developer and then as an implementation consultant, there's one thing that I truly learned. Excel is everywhere, and people love using Excel. It's actually what we call the ERP software world best kept secret. People invest a lot of money in fancy enterprise systems, but users tend to use Excel a lot for analysis, for decision making, for budgeting, and planning. Excel is simply unmatched in terms of flexibility and usability, and it's also by far the most popular app on the planet with over 750 million users. On this note, I would like to invite you to visit a recent blog we published on our website at velixo.com titled Why People Use Excel in 2023. What we find is that everything happens in spreadsheets, and here at Velixo, we want to improve spreadsheets and make it as easy as possible to work with your favorite ERP system from Microsoft Excel. Using Excel for ERP reporting and when linked with your ERP comes with a set of problems. And these are the problems that we address with our solution and that I will demonstrate to you today. The biggest problem are manual spreadsheets. Manual spreadsheets are spreadsheets that are disconnected from your ERP system. So for example, take a board reporting package that you might need to update every month. Well, one of the ways to build that could be to type all the numbers manually inside Excel, or you might export data from your ERP system, Sage Intacct in this case. You could also copy paste data, what I like to call copy and waste. The big problem with these manual processes is that by the time you're done, your spreadsheet is already outdated. It's also a very repetitive and time-consuming process. And when we talk repetition, we also talk errors. And disconnected spreadsheets are very hard to reconcile. You pretty much need to go line by line and run reports in your ERP system to figure out whatever discrepancy or difference that you might have between the two reports. And last but not least, a spreadsheet is mainly a read-only thing. Read-only, but like one-way thing. So you get data out of your ERP system, you build that very nice model or report, and then if you need to do a new plan, a new forecast, make changes to your pricing or adjust a cost projection in a project, well, all of that work needs to be done manually in your ERP system afterwards. So this is also something that Velixo solves and that I will demonstrate in my demo in just a few minutes. Analyst firms have studied Excel, spreadsheets, and these tools a lot. And according to McKinsey, the Office of the FP&A, that is Financial Planning and Analysis, spend over 50% of their time exporting and manipulating data before being able to start producing any value. So imagine the value that they would produce by automating this task. And this is exactly what I will be covering with you today using Velixo. And Velixo is a tool that we built from the ground up for Sage Intacct. So as you will see during my demo, everything has been designed with Sage Intacct users in mind. We bring the full Sage Intacct experience to the world's most popular application, Microsoft Excel. Thanks to our unique Smart Refresh technology, we're able to offer real-time reporting with full bi-directional integration, pull and push between Sage and Microsoft Excel. as well as a set of specialized functions that are built specifically for Sage Intacct. So a good example of our functions that you will see are the support that we have for dimensions. So Sage Intacct uses dimensions, and you will see that all our functions allow filtering on the dimension. And we also have deep integration with other Sage Intacct features, such as security, as well as deep integration with the Microsoft Office 365 ecosystem. So Copilot, that's something very new, but extremely exciting. I will give you a glimpse of what's possible and what our team has been working on. So with that being said, I'm ready to start with my demo. I hope you will enjoy. If you have any questions during our presentation, feel free to use the Q&A button. We do have other Velixo team members available to answer your questions. And if we're not able to answer the questions live, we will make sure to get back to you at the end of this presentation. Okay, so I will start sharing my screen. And what you should see is your favorite app. Yes, Microsoft Excel. Today, I'm doing this demonstration from my Mac, but the Velixo solution is available and compatible with Excel for Windows and Excel Online as well. The user interface is absolutely the same, so what you see today will apply equally well to your own environment. To introduce you to Velixo, I will create a very simple report with you that will list all the account balances. So something very simple, okay, with 3 columns: code, name, and balance, okay? So we will list all our accounts here and the current balance in column C. So this is a brand new workbook. Imagine that you're a first-time user of Velixo, you don't have the tool installed, so how do you do that? Well, it's very easy. You just go to the add-ins button of Microsoft Excel, you search for Velixo, and you click Add. And that's it. You are ready to start using Velixo. As you will see, if you look at the top of my screen, there's a new menu item that was added and a new toolbar called Velixo. This spreadsheet is not yet linked to Sage Intacct, so let's do that. I will click the Add button here. I will enter my connection name, my company ID, and finally, my Sage Intacct credentials. So this is the exact same information that I would enter to log in to Sage Intacct from my web browser. So let's go there here, and just to show you, same company ID, same username, and same password. This is the first example that I would like to highlight of how well and how tightly Velixo integrates Excel with Sage Intacct. We just leverage the security that's in place. So if you have users with restricted access, so maybe only specific locations, specific menu items, specific dimensions, the same restrictions that are in place in Excel will also apply when the users run and refresh reports within Excel. If you use single sign-on, that's also supported. In my case, I just use my Sage Intacct username, but just keep that in mind if you're using Active Directory or OneLogin or any other external identity provider with Sage Intacct. I'm ready to start building my spreadsheet. Oh, and before I forget, that's also very important. We're creating a new spreadsheet together. But as we all know, Excel is everywhere and everyone knows how to use Excel. So you probably have your existing spreadsheets that are not currently connected to Sage Intacct. Well, it's very easy. You can open your existing spreadsheets and add that Velixo add-in and connection to your existing workbook. So that's a great way to leverage all the investments that you've made over the years. Awesome. Okay, so now let's keep building this report. Again, this is an introduction to Velixo, and then we will move on to more complete examples. But I really want you to see how simple it is. Like in 2 minutes, we'll have this report completed. So let's go ahead and start typing all our account codes. Well, I'm joking, okay? We're not going to do that manually. This is exactly what we're trying to get out of using Velixo. We want our reports to be fully automated. So instead of typing all my account codes one by one, I will use the Insert Chart of Accounts button in the Velixo toolbar. And what you will see in column A almost instantly is my full list of GL accounts from my Sage Intacct system. It's live. It's a real-time list of accounts. So I didn't need to set up a data warehouse or a synchronization process. Velixo directly retrieved this list from my Sage Intacct system. It's also a dynamic list. So if anyone right now logs in and adds a new account to my Sage Intacct environment, this new account will also show up in column A. And the reason it will show up and that this is actually dynamic is because Velixo relies on new functions that are added to Excel and that specifically work with Sage Intacct. Okay, you can see here equal SI. SI stands for Sage Intacct. And this one is a function that gives us a list of all the accounts that we have in Sage Intacct. So we're also going to use a function this time to get the account name. And as you will see, it's very simple. I just type equal SI dot account name, but Excel already shows me this function. It's the first one in the list, so it's already available for me. Okay, and I simply need to enter my connection name, Sage, and the account code I want to get the description of. So it's this first one in column A, and actually let's do it for the entire range. Here we go. And now the only thing that we're missing is the account balance calculation. So just to give us more flexibility, I will add 3 things here. I want to have my location, and I want to have dates as well. So let's add from date and the to date right here. Let's change the date format. So this is Excel. You can use all the functions and formatting that you want. This is my default date format, but typically people like to use month, day, year. So let's change it. Here we go. And now let's add the last function, the account balance function. I could type it like I did earlier with si.accountName, but what I want to show you instead is this insert function button. It's a very, very cool tool. You actually have it already. So if you have Excel open, I'm sure that some of you have Excel open, you can try it. If you're on Mac, it will open the formula builder on the right-hand side. And if you're demoing from Windows, it would be front and center. So this insert function button shows you a list of all the available functions. And all the Sage Intacct functions can be seen by simply typing SI dot and then scrolling through all the functions. So we're looking for the current balance or the closing balance. This is it. And the nice thing is that this shows you all the different arguments that these functions expect, like account code, date, location, books, and dimensions. And then if you click Insert Function, it will actually guide you through the process. So the functions are very simple. You don't need to be an Excel expert. But again, we have this tool that helps you set up the function. So let's follow the instructions. Now we need the account code. So account code, I have that here. My start date, it's right here. My end date, right here. Location, right here. And then let's take a look. We have books, additional books. We have dimensions, user-defined dimensions, and a few additional settings. So it's very simple, but most basic thing is retrieving the balance for one account, which is what I just did. If you have any questions as you are going through your report building, you can always click Help right here, more Help. And this takes you to the Velixo support website. We have very, very detailed documentation and examples of how to use this function and all the different functions available in the Velixo product. Okay, so this is a public website, by the way, so feel free to take a look, help.intact.velixo.com. We have sample reports, we have videos. You will also get access to our user community. So it's a place where users can share their, whatever they've been working on, give their feedback, suggest ideas, and ask questions. So it's a great way to learn Velixo. Make sure to take a look at helpintact.velixo.com. So let's get back here, press done. So you can see it shows busy. So right now it's retrieving the balance. It's going to be very quick. Let's make the column wider and then copy this down. Just double click the green dot, and there we go. So we're done. So we just finished building the report. Let me zoom out. You will see that we have all the balances. We even have statistical accounts at the end, so that's also possible using Velixo. They're formatted as dollars. Actually, this is it should be units. So let me change that here. Here we go. So that's also possible. So at this point, you have a fully functional report that can be shared through SharePoint, OneDrive. You can email it to another colleague. And the only thing that needs to be done if you want to get up-to-date information is to click the refresh all button. You can also simply change the date. So if you want to look at the entire year instead of just 1 month, you can change it here, press enter, and you will see that Excel instantly recalculates the entire column. And the reason Excel is so smart is the same reason Excel is able to add up 3 numbers together. So if I do this plus that and that other cell here, oops, as you know, Excel is smart enough to recalculate the total. So it's the same thing here that happens when I change the dates. So let's do it again. Let's change it to December, enter. It recalculates instantly. What that also means is that you can now use all the standard Excel functionality. So let's say that you want to look at this month versus the same month last year. So you can just change the dates here. And Excel will have both date ranges side by side. And then maybe you want to have your own variance calculation, okay, to check how things are going. So as we can see, we have, what did I do? See, yeah, there's an extra minus here. That's my fault. Should have been positive. So corrected. So you can see we have another like $13 million in the checking account. That's good. Let's take a look at our sales here. Yeah, things seem to be going well on that side as well. So looks like the business is booming. So that's one example, this year versus last year. You could also do another example where you compare 2 locations side by side, maybe even 3 locations. Okay, so I just change the location ID and let's add total. So a roll up or consolidation of 3 locations within the same spreadsheet. So just as easy and very quick as you can see. As soon as I change the date or the location, Velixo and Excel connects to your Intacct environment and retrieve the information in real time. Before I move on to my second example, I would just like to show you one more thing that's also very powerful, yet super easy to learn. Velixo allows you to group together multiple accounts in one cell. So let's say, for example, that you want to have your 3 checking accounts. So you could just list the 3 numbers here. And Velixo will add them together. Actually, that's not the best example because we do have, we only have a balance in one of the accounts. So let's do something else. Let's add all the accounts between 10000 and 10500. So you can do that as well, a from to range. So here that's $25 million. You can also use the question mark as a wildcard. So if you want to have all the accounts that start with 1, you can do that. And finally, if you want to be more clever and say that you want all the asset accounts, but not the main checking account, you can simply put minus in front of the account code, and Excel will subtract that from the total that it has. The reason I wanted to show you this is because like this is used throughout the solution. You can group together multiple locations the same way I just did with multiple accounts, projects, dimensions, and so on. So once you understand it here, you understand it absolutely everywhere. Okay, great. So now that you understand the basics, I will switch to my second workbook that I will move to my main screen right now. So this workbook is actually a workbook that can be downloaded on that same website I showed you. So if you go back to help.intact.velixo.com, you do have sample reports. So let's type sample reports and press enter. You have here Velixo sample reports for Sage Intacct and a set of reports that are listed and that can be downloaded. This list is expanding, so over the next few months, we will be adding dozens, if not hundreds of new templates that will be ready to use by our users. What you're looking at right now is a nice looking spreadsheet. I'm sure you have multiple spreadsheets like that that leverage the richness of Microsoft Excel for reporting. So let me give you a walkthrough of some of these examples. So first of all, you can see that we have nice formatting. So we use different fonts. We have borders to highlight the profit, the EBITDA, and the net profit here. We do use conditional formatting to highlight rows where we're above budget. We also have data groups, so you could see prior year and year to date as well by expanding. We do have an additional level of grouping here, so you could have multiple levels if you wanted to. We do have multiple sheets within that workbook. So if you want to look at the revenue across an entire year, month by month, you can do that. You can create a consolidation, a cash flow forecast. That's another example. A nice looking dashboard with charts. There's even a department filter here that allows me to look at a single department. So I can select IT and it recalculates the charts, and a few additional sheets that we'll be looking at later today during this presentation. So really, this is Excel, and you have access to the full power of Microsoft Excel. And let me give you an example of that. We're going to go back to the main profit and loss sheet. I'm going to collapse this section here on the right. Let's say, for example, that you want to have a chart that shows you all the expenses by account group. That's very easy. In Excel, you can select both columns, go to Insert, Pie Chart, and then you can give it a title, Expenses by Account Group. Here we go. So this is now part of your sheet. But since this workbook is Velixo enabled, it also means that if I change my location here, that the system will not only recalculate the profit and loss, but also update the chart that I have on the right-hand side. Everything works just like Excel because it is Excel powered by the Velixo engine. And back to the USA 1 location. Fantastic. If you recall earlier when I showed you my intro slides, I mentioned that one of the challenges when working with manual spreadsheets is how hard and time-consuming it can be to reconcile your spreadsheets or simply audit some of the values that you see in your workbook. Let's go to an example and show you how Velixo solves that problem. I will highlight the operating and maintenance line right here. So as you can see, we've spent $90,000 so far this month, but if you move over to the budget column, it shows that our budget was only $42,000. So we're effectively more than 100% above budget. So we're going to use a Velixo drill down function to look inside the operating and maintenance number that we see right here. This is very simple. I just click the cell, hit drill down. And the drill down function, we actually call that smart drill down, and you will see why. It will analyze your function and it will identify all the Sage Intacct accounts that were included. If you have multiple cells, let's say you're adding multiple cells together, this will also show up right here. In my case, I only have a single cell, no totaling. But as you can see here clearly, the system breaks down the amounts by account, okay, but also by location, as well as any other dimension. So in this case, we're not filtering by dimension, so we don't see it. But if we add, let's say, the IT dimension and the admin department, it would be broken down and you would have a column right here. If you want, you can go to the next level. So let's say you want to look into professional fees. That might look a bit high for this month. You can click View Transactions right here. And this opens up a list of all your GL transactions for the selected account and period. So if there's anything that stands out that you want to look at, you can then click the View Batch link right here. And this is super cool because View Batch actually takes you to Sage Intacct, where you will see the original transaction. So this is a Sage Intacct journal entry. Let me zoom in a bit. You can follow any of the hyperlinks. And once you're looking at the actual transaction, if you want to look at attachments, you can also do that. which is a great way to verify that, number one, is the right amount. Number two, this is something that was authorized. And number three, that, you're going to approve this as part of your expenses for this month. If you have any questions, since you're in Sage Intacct at this stage, you can verify the audit. So here under more actions, you can click view audit trail, which will show you who created the transaction. So actually here it says spending exceeds budget. So, and yeah, Gabriel, that's me. I guess I already overrode the budget amount. But yeah, you can see that you can actually find the person that originally entered the transaction and approved the spending above budget. So this is the smart drill down function. Once again, I started at the P&L sheet and I clicked the operating and maintenance amount, drill down, and this gave me a breakdown by account, and we ended up in Sage Intacct. Another amazing example of how well we integrate Excel with Sage Intacct. Drill down also works on formulas, subtotals. I have an example here that I will use to show you how that would work. So example here, total expenses. When you drill down, this brings a sheet that has all the different cells. And again, the same breakdown that we saw. We have the total here to reconcile that with the profit and loss. So a cool thing that you can also do when you have Excel spreadsheets linked to your Sage Intacct environment is to leverage the new AI functionality that is starting to be included inside Microsoft Excel. This is very early. This is not available to every users yet. We do have access to it in our account, and it's so cool that I want to make sure to show you some of the examples of what's possible. So we're going to use this very simple spreadsheet, and I will click the Copilot button inside Excel. And we're going to ask Copilot to highlight the top 10 turnover in red. So this is going to look at my table. Okay, remember it's a small one, but you could have like 5,000 rows in here. And it's going to find the top 10 rows and highlight them in red. If you're a power user, you probably know how to do that yourself, but Copilot makes it so much easier. Okay, you can see here it's done. Excel applied a red fill color and a black font color to the top 10 items in column I. First example. Let's do something else. Should I sort by, yeah, please sort the table by source cell. So right now it's sorted by account. If I don't know how to do that, I can ask Copilot to do it for me. It's sorting. There we go. It's now sorted. Let's do another demo. Can you show me the percentage, or no, please add a column showing the percentage turnover relative to the total. Let's try that. We're almost done. Okay, so it's suggesting a formula, and I can click insert, and it adds it for me. So very convenient. You can also ask it to create charts. Maybe like let's do one last example. Please show me the total turnover by account as a pie chart. And Excel will, Copilot will reply with a pie chart, and you can add it to a sheet. So that's another like very like cool demo, but more importantly, a compelling reason to use Excel with your ERP system. By integrating Sage Intacct with Excel, Velixo helps you leverage all the power of the Office 365 ecosystem and the massive investments that are being made by Microsoft to improve and bring you the latest technology in this solution. I will make sure to add additional examples of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem later on, but this is a really, really amazing improvement that is getting rolled out slowly to the Microsoft 365 clients. Okay, so let's switch gears and do a quick recap. So far, we looked at setting up Velixo, adding a connection, building a simple report, drilling down, and now I would like to show you additional scenarios or additional data points that you can work with. So we pretty much focused on financials, but Velixo is not limited to financials. You can work with projects. You can also work with any data. So operational data like AP bills, AR invoices, inventory, price list, and so on, that can all be retrieved using our solution. There's a very extensive set of functions and formulas that you can use. Let me show you an example right now that is focused on projects. So this is a sheet that shows me a detailed view of a project. It shows me my budget and spend by cost code. Okay, we can even see actual PO, so commitments. And if you look behind the scenes, like we're using the same easy formulas that you saw for that account balances report. In this case, since we're working on a project, we are filtering on two different dimensions, project and task, okay, using the dimensions function of Velixo. But really, it's a simple function, simple formula. And once you have that built into your project report, well, getting a report for another project is as simple as selecting that project from the dropdown. Here we go. We have cost, billing versus cost, summaries, and so on. So very, very simple, very powerful as well. Another view that you might find helpful is that one here, project summary. So this is just giving you totals by project, but filtered by project manager. So if you have multiple PMs and for each of them you want to see what they're working on, you can select their name from the dropdown, and Velixo gives you the type of project, budget, revenue, budget, expenses, actuals, hours as well. So Velixo not only works with amounts, but also works with quantities, in this case, hours. So these are just two examples of what you can do when it comes to projects. And we'll get back to this one later on. I have something else that I really want to show as part of this demo. So financials, project reports. Now let's take a look at operational data. Something that people often want to do is bring, let's say, a full list of transactions, detailed GL transaction list, or maybe a list of all the open purchase orders, all the outstanding AP bills from Sage Intacct. And that's absolutely possible. Velixo allows you to retrieve any Sage Intacct object directly into your spreadsheet by using the si.query function. So let me show you how that works. We're going to build a sheet that will show us all our AP bills. AP bills. So let's make that bold. And let's use si.query here to retrieve our AP bills. So you might be wondering where I got this AP bill name, like it's uppercase with no spaces. You actually get that from the Sage Intacct environment. From any object, you have the ability to view that from the More Actions button on the top right. It was pretty fast, so let me zoom out so you can see the extent of the information that was retrieved. So this is showing you every single column as well as an hyperlink, and then you have every single data row. In real life scenarios, you're probably going to want to restrict that. So let's use the select argument to specify the exact fields that we want. Vendor name, doc number, description, when created, when due, total entered, and I think it's total due. So you can list all the columns that you want. You press enter, and it's going to refresh that. Great, so now let's add some formatting to our sheet. Okay, it's smart enough to format dates, numbers. Well, we need to tell Excel that like this is dollars or pounds or euros or whatnot. So that's why I did that myself. And yeah, it's already starting to look like a pretty cool spreadsheet. Okay. In the upcoming Velixo release, we're also going to make it possible to output that to a data table. So Excel data tables can be Sorted, you can have your own formulas as well. You can have your own user data. We're going to do a webinar when that becomes available. This is something that we've been working on and that I'm very excited to show our existing clients. One more thing that you can do with this is filter. Okay, so let's say that you want to have a single vendor listed. Let's take this one as an example, 20013. You can also do that. There's a filter argument right here in the query function. Actually, this is using a very special syntax that Sage Intacct uses. But the good news is that you don't need to know how the syntax works because we have si.queryFilter. That's another function, and it's very simple. You just add your column name and the value. You press enter, and it builds that for you. So if you add dates as well, okay, let's say you wanted to have from date and then to date. Let's do it. Let's have 2019, 0101, 2019, 12/31. You could also add that to your filter. Okay, and here you can do the same thing with the date. So when entered, that's the name of my column, or when created, I'm sorry. When created, you can have column twice, do less than or equal to, and it will also append that to the filter. Okay. I kept it visible so you could see like the heavy lifting that the function does for you, but really you can hide it. That doesn't need to be visible. And the cool thing is that once you're done, well, you have a report that will refresh dynamically. So you could very easily rename the sheet and say that bills for Kaufman and Langer. And if you want to have two sheets, let me find another vendor ID that has data. Let's do HC equipment. Okay, so you could copy the sheet and have two different sheets in your workbook. So KC equipment. I'm just going to change the vendor code. And it's going to bring me the HC equipment transaction. So now we have additional sheets and all the sheets that we've added in this workbook. Now refresh and recalculate whenever you click the refresh all button in the Velixo toolbar. So this shows you the power of our functions. Remember, you can discover the functions a few different ways. You can just type them directly, equal SI. You can use the insert function button in Excel. So you can find all the Sage Intacct functions as well this way. And finally, you can use the Velixo support website here. There's the button here, but you can also go to helpintact.velixo.com and all the functions are listed. Here, general help. 1 second, functions. Let me find it, functions. Okay, here we go. So right here, functions, they're all listed. Financial projects, dimension, system, query, and writeback. You can find them very easily on that website. So that's helpintact.velixo.com. So before we move on to the next section, I see that we have two questions. First one, can Copilot look for errors inside Excel? The answer is yes, but I would say that today it's still pretty limited. So right now, Copilot only operates on data tables. So it cannot analyze the entire workbook or look at arbitrary cells everywhere. But this is definitely something that Microsoft is working on and that I expect to see in the future. If you're working on a large data table, you can ask for outliers. So 1 second, there's analyze this data. Show data insights. Yeah, you can type like ask for outliers, and it will tell you. It's not very useful at this stage, but definitely I would expect this to improve. Yeah, here you can see like, actually, that's quite interesting. It told us that cell D24 has a much lower turnover percentage than the other cells. That's actually true. Maybe you would want to have it analyze cells with like abnormally high numbers. So this is something that you could probably do with that right now today. Another question, what about bringing multiple tables into Velixo? Yes, this is definitely possible. I think that was demonstrated here with the AP Bills example. We do have two sheets that are showing different vendors. By the way, I could also do a filter that brings both of them together in the single table. So that is absolutely possible. Let me show you maybe one last example, and then we move on to our next topic. So I will create another sheet because I want to keep all of that. So bills for Kaufman and HC equipment. Okay, here's a trick here. You can have multiple cells. And oops, I'm hiding stuff instead of unhiding stuff. So here, when you build your filter, instead of selecting a single cell, like I did here B3, you can have multiple cells. So I could go as long as I want. Okay, let's do 2 here. And it will work that in the filter criteria. Okay, so again, you don't need to type this filter. This simple Excel function writes it for you the same way that some ifs can write like or do a complex calculation. And as you can see, we have both vendors together in the same data table. So that's the power of Velixo. And actually, I think that there's one more question on tables, bringing project rates and AP bills together. Yes, two tables. So we have AP bills right now. Let's look at project rates. So I'm not exactly sure where this table is. Let me just take another random table. Let's look at, let's take, no, one second. I'm trying to find something that is helpful. Purchasing items. Let's look at items. So we have AP bills right now. We're going to look at items. So I'm actually going to show you where you can find the object name. So the internal Sage Intacct object name. From any page, you can go to more actions, object definition, and it's right here. Integration name, item, self-explanatory. So let's just have si.query, Sage item right here. It's loading. Here we go. So you have all the items. You could combine, collate, stack them together, Excel as HStack, VStack. There's a bunch of functions that lets you combine them together. But yeah, there's really no limit if you want to bring multiple tables. We also have something called Smart Refresh that I explained earlier, but Smart Refresh also makes sure to only pull what has been added or modified, so it speeds up refreshes. So if you're only adding a new item every other month and you have like 5,000 items, when you click refresh, we're not going to bring everything. We're only going to bring what has been added or modified since the last refresh. Okay, great. So let's switch gears now. We have one more very important topic to cover, and it's Writeback. If you recall in my intro slide, let me bring that up here. I explained like the main problems when working with manual spreadsheets. And the last problem on my list was that changes cannot be written back to your ERP. So a good example would be a budget. So you're working on this new plan for 2024, and you looked at your prior year data, you've built a model to forecast your sales. You might have headcount budget, and you have like that very nice model that you've probably been using for years. But there's no way for you to take this and push it back to Sage Intacct unless you type the numbers manually or work with some convoluted import process in the ERP system. Velixo solves that by using Writeback. And Writeback is very simple. It's just a set of templates that you can add to your workbook, and each of these templates can be written back to Sage Intacct. An example here would be a budget. Let's click New Sheet, click Insert. So this is a simple budget Writeback template. But in reality, all that is a data table with a function inserted at the end, the Writeback budget function. So if you have your own budget model or template, you don't need to use that. You just add the Writeback function to your existing template. So let's use this one because it actually, brings together a lot of the great stuff that you can do in Excel. So to build this budget, I created this model where we have prior year data. So this is my revenue for last year, expenses in the case of expense accounts, and then I have my percentage column here. So let's zero out everything, okay, and start from scratch. So let's imagine that you forecasted a 25% increase in sales. You're going to bring like a lot more contract revenue here. So let's say 75%. Your cost of goods will go up by 10%. So actually profitability will go up. So you can do that here. And what you see on the right-hand side is the breakdown by financial period. So 1, 2, 3. So basically each month of the year. And this is a simple Excel formula that takes prior year actuals, adds the percentage, and then distributes it equally or based on seasonality. So if you have more revenue or more expenses in the summer months, you could use that to, distribute it differently. If you have your own model, you could use manual allocation and then reference another formula, another spreadsheet. It's entirely up to you. Again, this is a very simple example. I'm not a CPA. You're probably a lot more experienced than I am in budgeting, and I am pretty sure that you use Excel for that already. So just need to add this write back function in here. You can write back based on dimensions if you want. But the great thing is that once you're ready to push this to Sage Intacct, you just click perform write back, and the system will validate your budget and push it back to Sage Intacct. So let me take a step back. If you recall, when I started my demo, I went to the Sage Intacct login screen. So I had to log into Sage Intacct to use it in the web browser, but I also had to log in from Excel as well before I could use the write back function. Okay, so if I'm not a user with permissions to update a budget in Sage Intacct, I'm not going to be able to do that from Excel either. Velixo does not bypass your Sage Intacct security. Everything works hand in hand with the Sage Intacct security. Whatever access rights you have by location, by dimension, and so on, everything is enforced. It's not enforced by us, it's enforced on the Sage Intacct side. So it's very, very secure. So my budget has been written back under budget ID V5. Yes, I know it shows 2020. That's because my sample data is a bit old, but I will still be able to show you the budget. Let's go here. Let's look at budget ID. So this is V5. Let's find it, budget details. And let's find the first account here. I want you to see that the numbers were indeed written back to Sage Intacct. So that's actually period 12, like 275,437 and 50 cents. This is exactly what we have right here. So that was like very quick, as you can see. I wrote back the entire sheet, but let's say you wanted to just update one row. Okay, let's say that here, that revenue line, you can simply select it, click write back selected cells, and it's only going to write back that single cell. So I'm doing that right now. You can see in the status that it's waiting for it to calculate. Now it's writing back. Here we go. So let's try to refresh that in Intacct. And we will see that, yeah, it's not done yet. Yeah, here we go. So now it has been written back. So the new amounts are in the budget. And probably if we click view, we might be able to see that Gabriel is the one who changed that. Here, actually, oh, it looks like there's no audit at that level. Okay, but again, everything is audited, so there's a way that to see these values in Intacct. There's definitely a way for you to access it from there. Okay. All good. So that's a budget write back piece. Earlier, I mentioned that Velixo leverages the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and there's a lot of new functionality that was released over the last few years that truly benefit the budgeting process. For example, collaboration. When you're working on SharePoint or OneDrive, you can have multiple people working on your budget at the same time. So if you want to involve a colleague, let's say I need help for the subcontractors piece here. Okay, I could just right click, select new comment, and then tag anyone in my organization. Okay, can you help me budget that? I can even assign a task to him, and my colleague Duffy will receive an email with this. He can simply respond from Outlook or open the spreadsheet from his mobile device, add his feedback, and this will be part of the budget that I can then write back to Sage Intacct. Okay, so that's one example. Another example of the enhancements in Microsoft 365 and Excel is the show changes pane. So now you can see who changed what and when within the spreadsheet. So that's a question we get, like governance, like securing the data, controlling the changes. It's a lot easier now that you have this panel because you can see all the changes that were done and when these changes were made. So if you need to revert some changes, you can do it. If you need to go to a different version of the budget altogether, you can also do that from the file menu. So all the different versions and revisions are also stored and tracked in SharePoint. Actually, oh, Duffy is in the file right now, so maybe Duffy will be quick and change our budget. So Duffy, if you're listening to me right now, maybe try. Oh, actually, yeah, I just responded sure. So that's great. Thanks, Duffy. This is real time. So let's see if we will get to see the changes. This is usually pretty quick. But again, this is very cool because you can have multiple people working in the budget at the same time. So probably Duffy is trying to find the location. So let's keep moving. But I think you saw the interactivity in this demo. That is extremely cool. Writeback and Velixo extend to additional scenarios. You can write back journal transactions as well. I do have an example here that I want to highlight. Basically, you can create any journal entry using Velixo in Excel, but this is extremely helpful when you need to do calculations. So it could be some allocations, amortizations. It could be payroll journals that are generated that you need to push into Sage. So anything that is repetitive, that you do often, and that requires the intelligence of a spreadsheet, and you, obviously. Okay, so this is something that one of our clients built. It's actually like our second client. We're at 1,600, if you recall. So more than 1,600, like getting close to 2,000 actually. But this is something that that one of our customers built, and she was generous enough to share the template with me. So every month they need to run this allocation. It looks at the revenue of each location, multiplies it by a rate. So let's say now this month it's 3.55 inflation. Okay, and they need to post a transaction that will allocate something for liability insurance. So as you know, Velixo is able to recalculate numbers and balances. So let's say we're doing it for December. I can change the date and it recalculates. But before Writeback was possible, the user would have needed to post this manually in Sage Intacct. So let's do it using Velixo Writeback, perform Writeback current worksheet. Once again, it's going to validate the entry if there's any error, if it's out of balance, if you do not have access to Sage Intacct. This is not going to work. Okay, I'm logged in as Gabriel. Gabriel happens to be the controller in this environment and definitely has permissions. So here we go. This was very quick, as you saw. The transaction is now in Sage Intacct. Let me put this side by side so you can see the amounts. They do match. Okay, and I can also see that this transaction was last modified by Gabriel at 10:54. I believe this is Central Time. This is not my current time zone. But yeah, this is a minute ago, basically. Okay, and just to show that it does validate properly, this transaction cannot be posted in Sage Intacct because we're missing an inter-entity mapping in this case. So let's imagine that I wanted to post that from Excel without even going to Sage Intacct. If I try to do it, once again, you will see an error message right here, which is basically the same error message that you saw earlier in Sage Intacct. This thing goes through all your workflows and validation and everything. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that, creating an invalid entry. It's right here. Let's give it a few seconds and you will see the error message. This is definitely going to fail because we cannot post it. So give it another 5 seconds. Here we go. So that's the same error message we had earlier in Sage Intacct. Okay. As an additional layer of security, if you want to have your adjustments written to a different reporting book, you can do it. So this is another configuration that you have available with these writebacks. The last writeback scenario that I want to cover is very important for construction and project users. So we do have the ability to write back project estimates. So if you're building a new house, for example, and you want to calculate your cost to complete and create a new cost projection or project estimate, you can do that very easily. And I do have some examples here. So we have actual cost open POs. And from there, I can say, okay, like to complete this, I'm going to spend another $5,000. And yes, this is less than was originally budgeted. So I can type my numbers here. I can add comments, and I can write this back to Sage Intacct. And again, this uses simple Excel functions. Here we have write back project estimate. So don't be scared by the number of arguments. This is simply because there's a lot of different values that can be written back in the estimates. And we basically show you everything. But what you don't need, you can just skip over it. Okay. In our case, we just have the amount. We're not writing back quantities. And we do have the dimensions as well and the descriptions that need to be written back. So you can create your new estimate, enter your cost to complete, and then use the write back button to push this back to Sage Intacct. Let's do it. And I will open the resulting project estimate. So it's writing back. Let me log in. That's actually in a different environment. This is my Sage Intacct construction database. So let's open the Lakewood Distribution Center project. Lakewood is here. Let's click view. And then let's go to estimates. And I do have this new estimate right here. Can I view it? Oh, I need to click edit. Okay, edit. And let's open that in a new window. So this is what we just rolled back. So all the amounts are there. Okay. And I can also see somewhere that this was created by Gabriel. More actions, view audit trial. Yeah, Gabriel created that at 9:57. Oh, this company is in California, I guess, Pacific time. So 9:57. That's 12:57 Eastern, where I am right now. So that's the project estimate writeback. We're going to expand the writeback function and add new scenarios over the next releases of Velixo. Speaking of releases, we make updates regularly, so you should expect to see a new Velixo version in Excel every 6 weeks or so. This is entirely transparent. You don't need to do anything. You will just see at the bottom here that the date has changed, and you can click what's new if you have any questions. So this completes my presentation. I will wrap up with 2 slides. If you have any questions, make sure to use the Q&A button. We will answer by email if we don't have time today. That was, great presenting with you today. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. Thanks, everyone, for your nice feedback. I do see some comments in the meeting chat. So I'm glad that you enjoyed. Really, stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter if you want to know and keep updated with Velixo. So this is on the website. We have a YouTube channel that I forgot to mention. So you can also subscribe to Velixo on YouTube. We often publish new videos, so this is another great way to learn more about Velixo and see the latest advance in technology, whether it's with Sage Intacct, with Velixo, or with Microsoft 365. Thanks everyone for joining this presentation. I hope that you enjoyed, and make sure to join our next webinars. Have a great day, and thanks again for your time. Bye-bye.